So there's a meme that's been going around a lot on Twitter. I'll pull it up right here. But the idea of it is that Canelo Alvarez had to wait for Jorge Masvidal to be finished. But if you looked at the disclosed pay between the two of them, Canelo had a disclosed pay of $35 million. Jorge Masvidal had a disclosed pay of $500,000. Canelo had fought in Las Vegas, and Jorge Masvidal had fought in New York and fought in front of the president, and also had The Rock attending as well. So the idea is that you have Canelo Alvarez making 70 times as much money as Jorge Masvidal, and this is some kind of proof that MMA pay is just completely out of whack, and that fighters are just getting absolutely screwed over in MMA while they're getting paid what they deserve in boxing. So a couple things to deal with on top of this. First off, there's the question of, does Canelo Alvarez making $35 million make sense? Is he getting overpaid? Is he bringing back value to his promoters? Are his promoters actually making money off of that investment they're making in him? And then also, is Jorge Masvidal actually getting paid just $500,000 for his fight? So this was a point that was brought up by Kung Lee, who is part of a lawsuit against the UFC for antitrust. Nate Corey has also been very involved in this. He was saying this is what the LA Act did for boxing, allowing free agency so fighters can choose where they fight and who for. Granted, free agency does exist in MMA. Sergio Pettis is a recent example. Someone who just took advantage of that to go from UFC to Bellator. Felt like he got a better deal with Bellator than he would get in the UFC, so he moved over there. Then he says, not a promoter who chooses where, when, and who, regardless of ranking and whether or not they move the needle. Moving the needle obviously matters because this is a business after all. If you're going to pay someone a ton of money and they don't move the needle, well, then your investment's not going to be worthwhile. You're going to lose a bunch of money. If you lose a bunch of money, you're not going to keep promoting fights. And if you don't keep promoting fights, then for one, you're not going to be giving fighters opportunity on your shows because your shows won't exist. But then also there'll be one less opportunity or one less show out there for those fighters to have to negotiate against and be able to get a better deal for themselves. So moving the needle actually a pretty important thing in sports and entertainment in general, which is where sports falls. And then he says, and one fight waited for the cheaper one to end. Okay, so on to each individual point. So we'll actually what I'll do is I'll start with Jorge Masvidal, whether or not $500,000 is actually what he made, and then we'll go to Canelo and talk about whether or not whether or not the amount of money that he's making is a good investment for his promoters. So we'll start with Masvidal. And after the fight was signed, he was quoted as saying, a lot of people are going to be mad with the paycheck that he's getting for the Nate Diaz fight. Now, disclosed pay oftentimes does not include pay-per-view points. Pay-per-view points typically are given to champions or to main event fighters. Sometimes you don't have to be a champion to get pay-per-view points. Chael Sonnen is a good example of someone who was able to negotiate for pay-per-view points despite not ever being a UFC champion. So it seems as though Jorge Masvidal never says that pay-per-view points are a part of this deal, it seems as though there's a good chance that they are involved. He says a lot of people are going to be mad with his paycheck for the Nate Diaz fight. So if we read along, Jorge Masvidal said a lot of his fellow UFC fighters will be mad when they find out how much money he's making on his fight against Nate Diaz at Madison Square Garden. I have a feeling if the actual number is $500,000, fighters aren't going to be that jealous for a main eventer. It says the two will go at it at the main event at UFC 244 for the honor of being called the BMF. Dana White said the fight took a life of its own with fans and tickets sold out already. This article is written back in September, by the way. It says a lot of people are going to be mad when they see this paycheck, Masvidal told Ariel Helwani. I'd rather say a lot of people are going to be happy, but seeing how a lot of my colleagues have been talking and stuff, when they actually find out these numbers, wow, that's not fair, man, he added, mimicking a baby crying. The fight's obviously the biggest to date for Masvidal, who surged in popularity back in 2019. And then it goes on from here. But to me, what this article seems to imply, which is based around an interview that Jorge Masvidal did, the disclosed number of $500,000 is very unlikely to be the actual number that he walked home with. There's a good chance that he made many millions of dollars on this. I don't know where specifically that range falls, whether that's like in the around $5 million, whether that's around $10 million. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. If it is based off of how many pay-per-views were sold, that's probably just a number we're just never going to know because ESPN's not going to release that number or UFC's not going to release that number. But it seems as though the deal that he struck, he was incredibly happy with. And we've seen other fighters make significant money near the tens of millions, sometimes even more. I'm pretty sure Conor and Khabib both broke $10 million for their fight. So for Jorge Masvidal to be very happy with the amount of money he's making, I'm sure he got paid decently in terms of many millions of dollars. But again, that's the actual number is not a number that we're going to know unless he actually comes out and says it. But I don't see this article jiving with the idea of him only making $500,000. So the first half of that meme of Jorge Masvidal only walking away with $500,000, I think it's fair to say that it's inaccurate. What the actual number is, I don't know. But it seems like he definitely made a lot more than that. Second half of it is Canelo Alvarez. Now, Alvarez signed a deal with DAZN that's going to be paying him $35 million per fight for 10 fights, so a grand total of $350 million. If you look at his record and look at the dates on it, we see 2 fights in 2019, 2 fights in 2018, 2 fights in 17, 2 fights in 16, 2 fights in 15, 2 fights in 14. So he just fights twice a year pretty much. It seems like that's been pretty consistent ever since 2011 at least. So for 2 fights a year, that means you're going to be getting, or that he's going to be getting $70 million a year from DAZN for those fights. If you look at DAZN and what DAZN costs for a customer, it costs $100 a year. If you're paying monthly, obviously I can't imagine a person who's going to pay monthly and end up paying more than $100 a year. They're probably going to transfer over to annual if they really think it's worth it. So if you do the math on that, so for $70 million, and then divide that by the $99.99 a year. That would mean for this deal to just simply break even, Canelo Alvarez is going to have to bring in over 700,000 subscribers on an annual basis for DAZN for them to even get their money back on the investment they're making in him. Do I think that Canelo Alvarez is bringing in that many annual subscribers for DAZN? We don't know the numbers. DAZN's a private company, but I would argue no, he probably isn't. There are a lot of other people who are getting paid massive amounts of money to have their fights on DAZN, and so I'm sure DAZN is putting up some decent subscriber numbers now as it is. But if you're looking solely from the investment in Canelo Alvarez, it seems as though DAZN is taking a loss on this just to try to build up a stable of fighters, a stable of sports assets to build up a big subscriber base right now. It seems like at this point right now for DAZN, they're playing the long game. They don't expect to make money for a while. It seems to be understood they have a lot of money that they had coming into this. It seems as though they expect to lose a lot of money in the short term, but build up a subscriber base over time, get people who are just on the annual $99.99 a year, just have them auto renew, and then over time, as they build up a heavy revenue base from this, hopefully they'll start to lower the cost of the sports properties they have, and eventually they'll work their way back into the black and eventually start making money. But it doesn't seem to me as though this DAZN, the deal that DAZN made with Canelo Alvarez was a deal that was made with the idea of them making a profit off of that deal. To me, it was more of them just taking a short-term loss in trying to build up a company. And if you have a promotion that's already stable, that's already set up, a deal like this isn't one that you would make. So great for Canelo Alvarez for being able to make this kind of money. Great for him to be able to negotiate for it. But to me, the deal that Canelo Alvarez has, to compare a deal like this to a deal that a promotion that's been around for a while is going to make with their fighters, in this case, the UFC making a deal with Jorge Masvidal, these aren't quite the same thing here. So good job, Canelo. You're making a lot of money. But I don't think that this is exactly the most financially viable deal that was made for Canelo. And by that, I mean financially viable for DAZN. For Canelo, great, you made a lot of money, but it doesn't seem like if promoters, both in boxing and MMA, were to hand out deals like this to all their fighters, that these promoters would be around and stay in business for a long time. In all likelihood, DAZN, at least their North American division, is going to lose a lot of money in 2019, and having deals like this in place are a big reason why. So to me, I really don't see a whole lot of scandal here with Canelo making the money that he did and Jorge making the money he did. I know a lot of people who don't like seeing fighter pay at the top of the UFC. They feel like the top UFC fighters should make more than boxers, or should make as much as boxers. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of talk about the guys who are mid-card or lower card and MMA who make a lot more than the boxers do. But to me, this is just one of those much ado about nothing type of situations. Nate Corey and Kung Lee both have it out for the UFC and how much they pay. So for them, any chance they have to take a pot shot at it, they will. And that's what happened here. But to me, not a whole lot to look into.